U.S. aircraft carrier strike group, USS John C. Stennis, arrives in Middle East. VOA Pentagon correspondent, covering defense and international security, Carla Babb tweeted on Friday. The deployment, the first carrier deployment to the Persian Gulf since the USS Theodore Roosevelt left 8 months ago, is intended as a clear show of force against Iran, the Wall Street Journal reported Monday. The carrier group certainly provides a deterrence to aggressive Iranian activities in the area, U.S. defense officials told Wall Street Journal. On December 5, 2018, sailors aboard USS John C. Stennis, CVN 74, conduct flight operations in the Indian Ocean. The John C. Stennis Strike Group is deployed to the U.S. Fifth Fleet Area of Operations in support of naval operations to ensure maritime stability and security in the central region, connecting the Mediterranean and the Pacific through the Western Indian Ocean and 3 strategic choke points. The Carrier Task Force will also support the fight against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, as well as the war in Afghanistan, where coalition airstrikes are on the rise, according to the latest air power statistics from U.S. Air Force's Central Command's Combined Air Operations Center. Iran test-fired a medium-range ballistic missile capable of carrying multiple warheads, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Saturday, adding that the weapon poses a threat to parts of Europe and all of the Middle East. "We condemn these activities," Pompeo said in a statement, and call upon Iran to cease immediately all activities relating to ballistic missiles designed to be capable of delivering nuclear weapons.
In UN Security Council Resolution 2231, with a call upon Iran not to undertake any activity related to such missiles. Iran's pace of missile activity, missile launches and tests did not diminish. Iran has conducted multiple ballistic missile launches since January 2016, when the deal was first implemented. Today, Iran has the largest ballistic missile force in the Middle East, each of those ballistic missiles costing more than $1 million.
Senior Iranian military officials said Tuesday that Iran is determined to extend its range. "One of our most important programs is increasing the range of missiles and ammunition," Brigadier General Aziz Neyazadeh, head of the Iranian Air Force, told the semi-official fast news agency, Reuters reported. "We don't see any limitations for ourselves in this field," the general added. Iran has long asserted that it can target U.S. bases in Afghanistan, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as U.S. carriers in the Persian Gulf. In October, Iran announced that it had boosted the range of its land-to-sea missiles to 435 miles, claiming that it could hit any vessel or ship. Over the weekend, Iran also launched a new stealth destroyer in the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran has threatened to disrupt shipping if the U.S. continues its efforts to strangle Iranian oil exports. The new Sahand destroyer is reportedly armed with anti-aircraft and anti-ship guns, surface-to-surface and surface-to-air missiles, and electronic warfare capabilities. "We are accumulating risk of escalation in the region if we fail to restore deterrence," Pompeo warned after this past weekend's missile test. The deployment of the USS John Stennis, while it does send a message to Iran amid rising tensions, was previously scheduled, The Wall Street Journal reported.
And that leads me to wonder how the struggling people of Iran feel about a missile program that drains their public treasury and causes economic sanctions that constrict their prosperity. Recently the UN Working Group on arbitrary detention has concluded that the government of Iran has no legal basis for the arrest and detention of American graduate student Wang Shiwei. Last year, the UN Working Group called for the immediate release of another American, Siamak Namazi, who was arbitrarily arrested in 2015 while visiting his parents in Iran. In 2016, the working group also concluded that Bob Levinson, who has been missing in Iran for more than 11 years now, was arrested without legal grounds and should be immediately released. We continue to press Iran to uphold its commitment to assist the United States in locating Bob so he can return to his family. All these Americans and the others wrongly detained must come home. I talked about Mr. Rouhani's tweets. They're wasting a lot of time these days trying to discredit the United States over our lawful and justified decision to leave the JCPOA. But Iran's own track record of violating international law is among the worst in the world. It has no regard for international law, borders, or lives. I don't think I need to offer much more evidence than I have laid out here today. These are destructive activities undertaken by Iran at a global scope. It is therefore incumbent on every country to join our efforts to change the regime's lawless behavior. The ongoing, multinational, multi-continental nature of Iranian malign activity leaves no room for indecision. The United States will continue to coalesce international efforts to change Iranian behavior through pressure, deterrence, and support for the Iranian people. We want every single country on board. This is among the President's top diplomatic priorities. The consensus that already exists on Iran non-nuclear activities is reflected in Security Council resolutions, the ones I just mentioned. But enforcement of those resolutions should be the bare minimum we ask of every nation. In the wake of President Trump's decision to pull the United States out of the nuclear deal, countries are now facing a choice of whether to keep doing business in Iran. Reimposing sanctions and discouraging international business with Iran is not something we're doing out of spite. This is a necessary security measure. The regime must no longer be allowed to get its hands on billions of dollars that has already proven it will spread around the world to its client states, rebel groups, and terrorists. Doing business in Iran only pours money into a regime that hoards it for itself and misuses it for violent ends. This all happened, of course, during the JCPOA. For decades, the world has sought to achieve the elusive goal of a stable Middle East. What better way to proceed toward it than denying the reasons toward the regime most responsible for instability in the region? We must do whatever we can to stop the funding of the IRGC and the Ministry of Intelligence so that their agents cannot sustain terrorism and subversion on every continent. Make no mistake, these sanctions and our economic pressure are directed at the regime and its malign proxies, not at the Iranian people. That is why we have humanitarian exemptions to all of our statutory sanctions that are being reimposed and have a range of authorizations in place to allow for certain activities that actually benefit the Iranian people. If the world wants to see for itself the full extent of the Iranian regime's malign activity, the United States has just released a booklet chronicling the destructive activities that the outlaw regime has perpetrated over the years.